All right. Good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:01 for our regular meeting for the Wells Springs Unified Union School District. We have a quorum. First order of business is to amend the agenda. Actually want to make a change to the agenda. So I'll go ahead and move to amend the agenda. Want to move finance up to right after approving the agenda. So basically just so our business manager doesn't have to sit here for half the night. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Cara.
Good job.
Any other changes to the agenda?
Eric, do you want to add a contract discussion for executive session?
Yes. Yeah, we will have an executive session this evening.
Right there. But that one's not cold and it's mostly empty.
I'll put that in here. All right. All right. If there's nothing else, all those in favor of the amended agenda, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, Lewis.
Thank you, Eric. So I have two items for tonight. The first one is in the packet. It was the audit. There was two documents that were in the package. There's the full audit, which is a pretty long document, and feel free to read it if you like. And then the second document was, I believe it was 2 pages, and that's what they call the management letter, which typically that outlines any findings that the auditors had that they would want to discuss with the board or management. So for many years that you haven't received that because it's been blank. There has been no findings, but there are 3 items on it this year that I'm going to discuss with you tonight. Not necessarily in the order that they're on the sheet. But we'll get to all 3 of them. So 2 of them pertain to student activities. And the first one is a new, it's a GASB change that requires that the student activity warrants, which is a report that shows all of the checks that were written, be approved by the board. So typically you've seen the warrants for accounts payable come to the board every month. The board chair or a designee would come into the office and sign those warrants, and they get filed away into our record. But in the past, you have not done that for student activities. Student activities is managed by the school. The checks are cut usually by the administrative assistant and signed by the principal. And then the treasurer is a backup in case the principal is not available. The student activities accounts are managed by the school. They're reviewed and reconciled by the school, and then they're audited. They are audited by our auditors. But the board usually has little review of those accounts. So going forward, that is going to change. Each month you will see the warrants. There should be 2 reports, one for Wells and one for Middletown. And it'll just list all of the checks that were cut for student activities, sort of like you see every month for the accounts payable checks coming out of the general fund. So we're going to provide those every on the first of every month because Wells Springs board meeting sometimes falls on the first of the month. There may be a month where you don't see a report, but then you may get two the following month because we're just going to have a normal process to print those out the first of every month for the previous months from the first to whatever the end of the month is. So if it doesn't make the packet, then because you're on the first of the month, you'll have it in the next packet. So that didn't make it into the packet this month. There's 2 reports for your review during the normal warrant review. And typically, if there's any questions, you can feel to reach out to me or to principals directly. Any questions on that before I move forward?
Louis, this is Sue. I do have a question. These checks will still be cut and signed by the people that have been doing it? Or is it going to be done by someone else at the office, the administrative office?
No, it'll stay where it is. The administrative assistant will cut the checks and the principal will continue to sign those checks. It's just another review process for checks and balances so that the board is aware of the checks that are being cut.
Was the board never aware of the checks being cut?
The warrants were not coming to the board. So the board did not have a monthly review of those checks.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So this is a change.
Yeah.
Louis, I have a question about the purchase agreements not being completed. What exactly are they looking at? The amounts or details about purchase agreements? I think it's a pretty standard operation that you give somebody a purchase order number to get the ball rolling.
Have you moved on to one of the other items, I think?
Yeah. Were you going to present that?
Yeah, so I'm going to go over that in a second. Yep.
Sorry.
So that was the first item I just talked about in the management letter. I'm going to skip over to the third item and then we'll come back to the second item, which is the purchasing. So the second item was also regarding student activities, and that's why I'm moving on to that one. And on this one, again, this is all handled by the school. There was instances across the SU in all schools where they felt that there was not enough supporting documentation for the disbursements that were being cut or receipts. So when deposits were being made. So there is a form that should be filled out anytime a disbursement is being made. That form should be signed by, typically it's the advisor that's requesting it, if one exists, and then the principal is signing off on it. And then there should be invoices, receipts. We don't do purchase orders for student activities, but there could be quotes, any supporting documentation to support that disbursement. So there was many instances across the SU where they felt there was not enough supporting documentation. So I have discussed this with all of the principals and the administrative assistants, and in a little bit further detail as to where I had it. So we're going to work on making that better for the future. The last item, purchasing procedure. This is regarding the general fund. So currently we have a procedure that requires that a purchase order be completed by the front office and signed by the principal prior to an expense occurring. So whether it be we're ordering something from Staples or we're hiring a contractor to come in and do work, before that occurs, a purchase order should be done and signed. And so what they do is they look at the dates of the invoices or the dates of service, the order dates, and they compare that to the dates of the purchase order. And there was instances where they found where that purchase was occurring before the purchase order. This is not a new finding. We've had this periodically over the years since I've been a business manager. It's something that I'm constantly talking to the principals in the front offices about, to making sure, and it's not just Wells, it's all schools, to making sure that they're following the chronological order of the procedure to make sure that the PO is done first and then the purchase of, and it could even be done in the same day. But if the date of the purchase is prior to that purchase order, then they're going to mark that as not following the procedure. So again, I followed up with the principals. Like I said, this is something that I'm constantly working on every year, reminding them, sending the procedures. So it's just something we continue to work on. Any questions?
I had a question about the student activities accounts. Is there just one at each school?
There is one bank account for each school. And then under that bank account, there's several what we call activities, which are different, like sub accounts. So for instance, you might have in Wells, like a 5-6 account where they're fundraising for their trip. You could have a music account or an art account. I don't have them in front of me, so I'm not sure the specific ones. But I create the account. So if the school needs an account to create it, they would contact me, and I would just create that new account for them. And it's all managed through our balance sheet. So they could run a report to find out what the activity is for each account at any time, and they can get a balance at any time on what that sub account is.
Okay. And so when we see these, we see them as warrants. We'll see basically just like we would normally. It's not going to show balances and stuff like that. It's just going to show just the activity like the warrants, correct?
So the warrants won't show balances. They'll just show it'll say the school at the top. So there'll be a separate one for Middletown, a separate one from Wells. And then it'll show the check number and who the vendor was, what the amount was, and usually a short description.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But if there's ever a time where the board would like to see balances, just feel free to ask and I can provide those.
All right.
Any other questions on the audit? Okay. The second item, which is not in the packet, and it will be in the packet next month, I just finished it this afternoon, was just an updated forecast. So I am estimating as of right now that Wells Springs is looking to have a surplus of approximately $35,000. So this is an update from the last time. We were originally running a small deficit. I met with the principals. We were able to reduce spending in a few areas to get that into the black. Based on the updated forecast, we're a little bit further into the black. And the main reason for that is, so every year when we do the budgets, we budget for all students that we know about attending and us paying tuition for them. We don't know if any of those students will be attending early college or Stafford. And if they do, there's no tuition for early college, and there's either reduced or no tuition for students attending Stafford. So as we get those invoices, so when my first forecast was done, we didn't have all the invoices. So we were just estimating. We had rosters with students' names, but we were still estimating full tuition for those students. Since then, we've gotten invoices from all of the schools and have been able to determine some students that are attending either Stafford or early college, which reduces our expense. So those additional savings are from the reduction in that tuition expense for those students. Like I said, it didn't make the packet this time. I just finished it this afternoon, but I figured you'd like to have the number at least. And then in the next packet, you'll see the full report. If anybody wants it before, then just let me know and I could email it to them.
All right.
Louis, on that, could you please send me exactly the information that you're doing with early college and the Stafford stuff? Exactly what you mean by who is actually eligible for that stuff? Because if I remember right, when I left, we weren't giving the students that attended other schools, out-of-state schools, the benefit. And I'm curious, has that changed since I've left?
So any Vermont resident is eligible to attend Stafford if they're attending a Vermont public school. So typically,
I'm sorry, but they have to attend a Vermont school. They can't attend New York.
Correct. I don't believe so. I don't think students attending Granville could participate in Stafford. And in early college, they're actually unenrolling. So any Vermont resident could enroll in early college as a senior. They have to apply. I'm not positive if they were enrolled the previous year in Granville, whether that excludes them or not, because they do have to re-enroll at the end of the year to get the diploma. I would have to check the details on that, but I can verify the students that are attending to make sure that none of them are Granville. I don't have that data right in front of me though.
Okay, so excuse me. So the students that do attend Granville aren't allowed to attend early college in Vermont, according to this?
So that's the piece I just said, I'm not sure about early college. They're not allowed to attend Stafford. I would have to check about early college.
Please do.
Meredith?
So is early college is different than dual enrollment?
Correct. Dual enrollment is where they're still attending in their high school. They're still enrolled in their high school, but they're taking, each student gets 2 dual enrollment classes. So they could, say, attend Poultney High School and then take a class at CCV or Castleton, and that class is paid for by the state. It's just a 1-credit class that they would take, not a 1-credit, I'm sorry, a 3-credit class. It's that they would, typically it's a 3-credit class, that they would enroll in that class themselves with the help of their guidance counselor, and they would attend that class in addition to their normal schedule at high school. Early college is where they're unenrolling from their high school and they're attending full-time, either Castleton, CCV, or UVM. And they're typically they're commuting, but as we saw earlier this year, there was a student who was looking to attend in person. So they attend full-time, and then at the end of the year, they would get a transcript with those credits that they took, and they would re-enroll in their high school and get a diploma from the high school that they were part of the year before.
And we don't get charged at that point.
We do not get charged by the high school. So if it's a Poultney or a Mill River, those schools do not charge for the early college students because they're not participating in anything at the high schools.
If they play sports at the high school?
They can play sports, but there has not been a charge for those students.
Okay, that's curious. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can share with you, Sue, a few years ago, we reached out to our local representative in regards to dual enrollment for Vermont students who are attending like a New York school. And I can share with you what his response was. I still have those emails, so.
I'm not sure how long ago was that, because my daughter went up to Montpelier and she tried to get the New York State students benefit of the dual enrollment and stuff like that. And she spoke to the group up there, and they kind of basically shot her down because my daughter was from New York, Vermont, but she went to the New York school and they did not allow her. We ended up paying for that.
Yep, that's essentially. Well, I don't want to misquote it, but it has to do with the State Board of Education and their description of the law, I guess. But yeah, that was a few years ago. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for Lewis? All right.
Thank you, Lewis.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Lewis. All right. So we'll move on to essential work, Vermont school boards. This is just a quick little 6-minute video. Chris is going to screen share and just present.
And I just sent a link to all the board members just so they can view it later if they'd like as well. So, all right, just give me 2 seconds, Eric.
All right, thank you.
School boards is a framework that VSBA, the essential work of Vermont school boards is a framework that VSBA put together to help define the scope of the school board job and offer best practices and how to go about accomplishing it. We've identified 6 domains as part of the essential work of Vermont school boards, all of which are really critical to doing the job, and all happen concurrently, so they're really interdependent. And while we list them and tend to talk about them in this particular order, they really do all influence each other. What you're looking at here is a screenshot of the Essential Work of School Boards toolkit from our website. The toolkit is a distillation of all the key references and tasks for good governance in each of the 6 main areas of school board work. A good place to start the conversation is talking about engaging the community and establishing a vision overview, because everything else really hinges on that vision. The board is in the strongest position when it is engaged with the community, clear in its vision for education and unified in its direction. So the board should develop structured and ongoing opportunities for the community to define and refine the vision for the school district. Once the vision is in place, the board then takes on the responsibility for monitoring progress and making policy and budgetary decisions to achieve the vision. To keep the community engaged in the ongoing work of the district, including current successes and challenges, the board must seek to engage community stakeholders in a variety of settings and contexts. The development and maintenance of school district policies is the central job of a school board. The board must ensure the district not only achieves educational results for students, but does so in a manner that complies with legal requirements and meets community expectations. The board does this by setting policies that articulate the values and concerns of the board as trustees of the school district. Once the board has established policy, it delegates the authority to further interpret the policy to the administration, which is often done through written procedures. The board should regularly monitor for policy compliance. After all, if it's important enough to be addressed in policy, it must be monitored. Perhaps the most important decision a board makes is to hire a qualified superintendent to lead and manage education through the district or supervisory union. Boards provide oversight. They do not manage day-to-day operations of a school system. Vermont law designates the superintendent as the chief executive officer for the supervisory union or district. As the CEO, the superintendent is accountable for the operations of the entire school system. To employ a well-qualified and capable superintendent, a board needs to be in a position to assure mutual accountability between the board and the superintendent. The board is accountable to provide clear direction and set priorities for the superintendent, and the superintendent is then accountable to deliver on those priorities of the board. Financial resources support the delivery of education, so the board has an important role in making sure the education system has adequate resources to achieve its mission, and also in providing high-level financial oversight to make sure resources are properly managed on behalf of taxpayers. The board needs to devote time each year to establishing the importance of its financial oversight responsibility and to conveying the importance of careful management of resources by all staff in the supervisory union or district. Managing financial resources responsibly is foundational to achieving the educational mission. You've heard me mention monitoring and oversight as we've talked about some of these other domains. What it boils down to is that the board is accountable to the community to ensure that the district makes reasonable progress in achieving outcomes for students and that the system operates in compliance with all policies, laws, and regulations. To meet this obligation, the board needs to monitor both these areas regularly. In order for administrators to be able to produce evidence related to these areas, the board must clearly identify the student learning outcomes and system operations outcomes it expects based on the board's vision, policy, strategic plans, and goals. Finally, don't forget that the school board is a public body trusted by the community to oversee the system of education for children in the school district. As elected officials, school board members must act with integrity and adhere to the highest ethical standards. Lawful and effective operations are crucial to a strong school board. Effective operations are characterized by well-organized meetings with agendas that focus discussion and decision-making, engaged board members who have the information necessary to make informed decisions, and practices, protocols, and policies that are legally compliant. If any questions come up for you as you think about all of this or explore the toolkit on our website, please feel free to reach out. I'm Susan Holson, Director of Education Services at VSBA, and you can email me or call me with your questions or thoughts.
All right. Just a quick little introduction video for Essential Work Vermont School Boards. It's good for, as a refresher, and also new board members as well. The VSBA is also a really good resource for information. So, all right. So also on the agenda and in the packet was some stuff with regards to Robert's rules. Put that in there, just for information. I also added the Robert's rules for small boards. It's just as it is. It's just a set of rules for boards that are less than 12, which every year we've adopted these rules, and so I put these in there just in case there was any confusion, and to clarify that these are the rules that we're also using. And one of note is the not needing a second for motions, if anyone saw that. So we've always used seconds, but not required, although my personal preference is to keep doing that, but it's really not a big deal. So are there any questions? Does anyone have any questions or comments as far as Robert's rules go? Great. All right. So next up is general public comment. Does anyone from the public wish to speak tonight? All right. All right. Consent agenda, approval of the minutes. You're looking for a motion to approve the minutes from March 2nd.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Thank you, Meredith. Any changes to the minutes? Additions, corrections? All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye.
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 Oh, Amanda is here.
Yes, sorry, I said aye.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't see you come in. Or hear you come in. All right. Motion carries unanimously.
Just so you know, Eric, I lost audio on my computer for some reason, so I'm also on the phone.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to be rude or anything, but could they at least tell me who they are? I have no idea who these people are that are talking, other than I know in general. I know Meredith's voice, but I'm not sure who everybody else is.
Okay.
I apologize. That was just George Gonda.
Okay, George. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful.
My name's Amanda Whedon.
Hi, Amanda.
If we're going around, I'm Matt Hearing.
Hi, Matt.
Hey.
I'm Cara Haynes.
Hi, Cara. And this is Sue Burke, of course.
Thank you, everyone. Approval of the warrants.
I'll make the motion to approve them.
Thank you, Cara. Any discussion on the warrants? All those in favor of approving the warrants?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Motion carries. Superintendents report.
Thanks, Eric. This is Chris Sell, Superintendent. So the few items just to kind of go through. First, I'd like to begin with a congratulatory note to GRCSU paraprofessional Cheryl Mulhoney. Cheryl was recognized last week at the NEASP National Conference in New Orleans for outstanding efforts and contributions. Cheryl was a finalist for the National ESP of the Year Award. I just wanted to publicly congratulate her. I know we did this at the GRCSU, but we did not get a chance at last month's Wells Springs, but I thought it'd be important just to recognize and congratulate Cheryl on a job well done. So just congratulations, Cheryl. A couple of items. We currently are offering the SBAC assessments for ELA and math at both Middletown Springs and Wells Village. Rick and Liz can discuss that. You know that we're looking to wrap that up before spring break. We also have a year-long professional development that the GRCSU administrative team, which Rick and Liz are both been included, has been going to participating with the University of Washington, the Center for Educational Leaders. It's a program focused on improving instructional leadership practices and helping us be more effective, providing feedback to our staff around just instruction and learning, and also just working out it's with us as well, just to, as we provide feedback to one another and just to kind of calibrate across buildings and across the district. The past 2 days, we were in South Burlington, or actually Burlington, just for a 2-day retreat. We have one more session in May, and that'll be up at Mount Abe. But it's been a great experience, and we do expect to do a year 2 with this as well, because we are seeing benefits with each of our building administrators and myself and some of the central office administrators as well. So we will see a trickle down into our schools as well. Our ultimate goal is developing a culture of feedback in our buildings, and we want to move our supervision evaluation from one being an ongoing discussion with our staff just around good practice and around teaching and learning. So it's kind of a bit of a shift that needs to take place, but I think our staff and our admins will welcome this. So it's more of a collegial conversation, which is I said will hopefully be well received. We also have been working with the building level admins, Rick and Liz, particularly around summer programming. We're looking at, last year we were able to offer some summer programs in each of our schools. Rick and Liz could talk a little bit more about this. I do know that this is largely dependent upon staff, and I think that's always how it has been. We do have funding available through ESSER funds to offer programming, but like I said, if we have staff who are able to provide services this summer as they did last, we look at increasing our programming or offering the same level of programming. So Rick and Liz could talk a little bit more about this, but it's something which we are looking to do. If there is a shortage in one school, we may look at consolidating or have an opportunity, maybe like a local hub, or it might be like at West Rutland, where students of Middletown or Wells could access, or vice versa, where if there's something here at Wells or Middletown where students say at Colte or Middletown or West Rutland could access. So we're looking at a lot of creative solutions. We're also looking at offering opportunities for if there are community members or family members who have certain skills or could provide enrichment programs or opportunities. We're looking at that as well. So the burden just isn't squarely on our staff shoulders or administrators. So if there are individuals in the community who would wish to help out, they can reach out to Rick and Liz with any suggestions, and we can work with them as well. There's a couple of informative things in the packet. Obviously, there's the board meeting schedule for you. There was the school calendar, which you had seen before. And then I just want to reiterate that school meals will be provided through the end of the school year. We will have more information in terms of what will happen with school meals, I think, as this legislative session ends. But I think that's where we will communicate that to families as soon as we know what will happen for the summer as well as for next year. 2 other items that were not on here, but I want to talk about next May's meeting. I have asked Al Gregorich, who is works with our building administrators around data. He's going to be doing a data presentation to the Wellspring board around our winter map assessments, which we'll take a look at from fall to winter. Take a look at where we're at, and then what we'll do probably in June or July, we'll look at a full year map assessments as well. So we'll have a presentation from Al next month on that. And then last, I know that everyone's well aware that we are currently beginning the principal search for Wells Village for the next year. We have reached out to family members as well as staff to participate on the interview panel. We have had that job posted for the past 2 weeks. I think we have 5 candidates as of today that we're looking to bring in. And our goal would be to begin first round interviews early next week, Monday and Tuesday, and then looking at a second round later in that week. And if there's a need to extend that, we will. But if we've found a qualified candidate by the next week, we'll look to kind of move forward, particularly as we're hitting spring break. We do know that this is the time of year where candidates do move quickly. So we want to make sure that we identify the right candidate, the right fit for Wells Village and for the community and for the staff and the students. So we want to make sure we don't lose out on anyone, but we also make sure we don't rush through. So we are going to make sure we do find that right fit. So like I said, an email was sent out, but if there are any staff members or community members who wish to participate, please you can reach out to myself or Christine McGinnis, and then we'll look to include you if we can. And the last thing I had was I just want to note in the board packet the town election results. There are the corrected numbers in last month's board report. The numbers were off by a bit. Meredith had made note of this at the GRCSU meeting, but the budget passed, but was much closer than what was reported in the last month. So I just want to say the updated and corrected numbers are in this board packet. But thank you, Meredith. And if there are any questions, I'll answer them now.
Chris, in the summer program, what is the ESTER? I'm assuming that's what it was called, the ESTER funding, or what is that, and where does that come from?
So ESTER funding is something that began during the pandemic, Sue, and so there are certain resources that have been allotted for recovery plan. And I know last year that Senator Sanders had opened up an additional revenue or funding stream for us, particularly around ESTER 2 funds, that allowed us to increase summer programming, for our kids. And a lot of this was around, not just this summer slide that some of our kids experienced, but there were concerns around the impact that COVID had taken on our students during the course of the year. And so we looked at from an academic piece that we have academic enrichment, we have potentially tutoring. We were looking at, like I said, a day camp, but also other enrichment programs. So that additional funding stream has helped not just Middletown and Wells to provide summer programming, but other GRCSU schools. But that we do know that as of right now, that funding will expire in 2024. But that's something which we'll continue to have discussions around programming and how to best fund and continue programs.
So the acronym is Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief Fund. So ESSER.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Cara.
And the school meals, what exactly is that? Did we start feeding the town?
No, so see what had happened. There was a federal grant which was put that during the pandemic that we would be providing meals to families for free, regardless of income or. So that every family, every child was entitled to free meals, breakfast and lunch. And so what had happened is now as there's a discussion of that is going to expire. And I know that there is discussion in the legislature currently of a willingness or looking at how to best to extend that. But the concern is the extension would be on a local budget, would not be state or federally funded, it would be locally funded. And so there has been a lot of discussion. So we're waiting to see what happens in the legislature around whether or not we'll have school meals provided for all students, or we'll go back to what it was prior to the pandemic.
Okay. And just my personal note on that school budget pass, that's only like 13 votes, guys. That's not a real big win.
Nope.
Not at all. I think it was 23.
23?
Yep.
Yeah, still not a big win.
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any questions for the superintendent? All right. We'll move on to principals' reports. Ladies first.
Thank you, Eric. Hi, Sue. This is Liz Colte. Thank you, everyone, for having me tonight. My report was in the board packet. I just wanted to highlight a couple of great things that occurred. One of the needed things in our school was a new water fountain, and so through a grant that both Mackenzie and Scott Hathaway, our facilities director, applied for and was awarded, was to replace our water cooler system. So that will be installed over break with limited, so that the students aren't interrupted to access to that. We do have water for the kids, but it's a brand new machine, and I think it's really timely with some of the changes that our kitchen staff are looking to make over the summer as well. And another collaborative thing that Middletown and Wells are doing is we've actually expanded to working with Miss Ashley Fioretti, who runs the Harvest of the Month program. And so over the last couple of weeks, our students, all pre-K through grade 6, were able to experience the current harvested crop of maple syrup. And the families will be getting out in the chalkboard monthly when Ashley sends them to us, any recipes and some pictures and just what the kids are incorporating. So it's been a really great way to kick off the sugaring season for folks and families. And our kids were very excited and doing well with that as it was new for them. The end of this upcoming month, we're going to have a social emotional presentation for kindergarten through 2nd, and then grades 3 through 6. It's called Roar. I will get out more information as to what that looks like for the students in the May board meeting. But it was an opportunity that my understanding is several of our SU schools are participating in, and we wanted to participate in that as well. And then the last thing I'd like to highlight is that we are making progress with our plans for our 5th and 6th grade trip. And we have received permission. Sorry, my daughter is looking at me right now wanting to come over. Permission for our families to send their students on the trip. And so we're just really excited and appreciative over the last few years of all the fundraising. We were given money through the ESSER funding that we were able to use this year for this trip, so that next year and years to come, we have a reserve fund for the trip. So fundraising will continue, but we're in a better place to start from. So I'm very excited for those opportunities at the end of the school year. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Just where's Wells going? Is it Wells and Middletown? Do they go together now, or are we
For
still
the
separate?
end of the year field trip, Sue?
Yes.
So no, this year it's a 5th and 6th grade class that will be going in Wells, and then Middletown, I believe Mr. Beele can speak to what's going on there. And I do know Superintendent Sell had talked about our summer school programs, and I know Rick, you can certainly highlight this as well. We have sent a proposal to central office that just needs to be approved for a program. And right now what we're looking to do based on current staffing availability is offer, just like Superintendent Sell said, an opportunity for families to come to Wells and use that as the home base for our pre-K program and a K-6 program as well. So we're looking to do, we've proposed, I should say, a 6-week program for both programs with an 8 to 4 opportunity for families as well. And so we're looking to kind of move those plans forward if the proposal is accepted in the coming weeks. So.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Did you say that was Roar?
Roar. Yes, it just does happen to coordinate with our PBIS acronym that we use at school. It's just separate. So it's an SEL program. Mackenzie has been working with the company that's coming, but they're also going to Poultney, and I believe maybe West Rutland, but I know Poultney for sure.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Rick?
So I guess I'm up. So Sue is Rick Beele, principal at Middletown Springs. I just want to, my packets in the board packet, I do want to share the collaboration between the two schools. We are working on a farm to school grant, which really connects very nicely into the Harvest of the Month work that Ashley Fioretti's been doing. We attended the 2 planning sessions. We had our first monthly meeting. We are off and flying and very excited the collaboration and to developing the school gardens in both schools. and the making connections to community and bringing local produce and trying to get this worked out through the system and sustainability. So very excited. And the good thing about the program is a lot of technical help, which I think is such an asset to the success of the program. Middletown Springs was going to attend the ROAR. I very graciously that Wells and us were trying to collaborate. We actually have a field trip to Vins that same day. So I don't know if it sounds, I have an idea, probably that date is set. So, but we did have a great plan to have the all the kids come down and have 2 sessions, and we're considering having a lunch at the school. So we are trying to make those connections between both schools. We are working on SBAC, beginning the process. We have tried to do it later as we can to make sure we get as much academic in, but we will make sure that we meet the window. I want to spend a few minutes talking about the summer program. Superintendent Sell kind of alluded to the fact it has been very difficult to find staffing. I did a survey for the parents, and there's definitely interest of having the same program as we had last year. And advertising for staff has been very difficult. I've reached out to Castleton, trying to find some resources. And at this point in time, Middletown Springs does not have the staffing to do the program that FEM's looking for. Case in point, pre-K parents are looking for a 6-week, 5-day program. For the K through 6, very similar, a full day, 5-day a week, 6-week program. So talking with Liz, Wells has opened up their pre-K program for pre-K students, and also any students in K through 6. I have reached out to Marie Gilman with the Tapestry program, more than willing to take Middletown Springs student. But the caveat on that too is they are experiencing staffing difficulties. So it's a first come, there may be a cap on the limit. So I'll have to make sure I reach out to Polteny and see if any chance there's a opportunity for our students. But I mean, this is only the second time. The first time that we have not been able to have a program, but it's just a reality of staffing. And so hopefully it will get better. I just want to share that we are working on, as we come into the 3rd year of the WARE grant, we're looking at, as a staff, looking at a positive behavior intervention support system and trying to revamp that and think about how we can change it up to make sure that we're recognizing students and they're seeing that they're being recognized. And we'd like to make sure that we're all set as we start for next year to be off and running. And very excited to get back to some of the things that we have done in the past, like what we call our cauldron session, where we had once a week, where we had kids from each classroom that mixed together, and they were together for the whole year, and they had one adult that they worked with. And it was such a strong community building session that we're looking forward to have come back to as part of our regular community building activities. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Are there any questions? Amanda?
Rick, I'm not sure if you've already tried this or not, but my niece is a student at UVM, and she recently shared with me that she was going to be reaching out to see if any of the schools needed help with summer programming. And there's a lot of local kids in Burlington that are doing like early childhood and teaching programs that have to complete a certain number of hours. So potentially Castleton or Burlington could help both schools out if that hasn't already been tried.
If you can give me a connection to UVM, I have reached out to Rick Reardon at Castleton, and he was going to post it through their either website or local campus newspaper. And at this point in time, I've heard nothing. So I'm the eternal optimist, but we are getting close to. I just want to make sure we have the staffing. So if you have a contact, you can definitely share it with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll ask her for you.
All right. Any other questions?
Under your PD faculty work, what is the implementing the new health curriculum for all grades? What's the new health curriculum considered to be?
I'm drawing a blank on the name. It just came
Called
back.
the Great Body Shop.
Great
Both
Body
Middletown and Wells purchased their funding.
So part of the Vermont standards is having a health curriculum for all grades, and this is a health curriculum that had high recommendations and has different topics every month. And this is our first year implementing it, and I think the more that we do it and we get into the rhythm of it, but it is a great resource. And what I like about it that involves everybody within the school to be involved. Can involve the PE teacher, can involve the nurse, and even me as an administrator to help move the health curriculum along.
Curious. I'd like to see what their guidelines are on that.
The health standards or Vermont health
Whatever,
standards?
how it's implemented. I guess I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I understand exactly what they are.
So it has different topics like each month, like for October, it was safety. So it can involve many different things. Like one is like fire safety. For one grade level, it could be making good decisions. Like then it kind of builds up as it goes through the grade levels. Is that a good way of saying it, Liz?
Yeah, there's hand washing, good hygiene, just those kinds of, and it's done through different, like Rick said, different staff members, different venues throughout the school. It's really just trying to bring the whole health and safety back to child development. So it's pretty broad stroke when it comes to topics.
Okay, I'm still curious, but all right, thank you.
The curriculum is available online, right? I'm pretty sure, like, this is Cara. The last time you told us about it, I Googled it, and the entire curriculum is available to anybody that wants to look
And it's
it
by
up.
grade level. So it's kindergarten through sixth grade. Each grade level has its own topics that they can focus
What would you be Googling under? Curriculum for all grades of elementary schools, or?
I think if you look up Great Body Shop.
Great Body Shop?
Sue, this is Chris Sell. I can send you the link if you want.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. All right. Thank you, principals and Superintendent Sell. We'll move on to personnel. Where's it at here? Contract recommendations. Are there any questions regarding the contract recommendations?
What were they?
Was it not in your packet?
I did not see something that said contract recommendations. No.
Okay, because there's a lot of them.
This should have been included in your packet, Sue, that I dropped off. So
Yeah, it may not be in order. I don't know.
Okay.
It's attachment number 7, if you're looking at the numbered attachments in the email.
No, I do paper. I don't do email things if I can avoid it. I learned a long time ago, stick to the paper. Okay, here we are. Thank you. Got it.
All right.
I had it moved around.
What's the abbreviation CBA, Chris?
It's collective bargaining.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, so we'd be looking for a motion to approve these contract recommendations. They are, I don't see any new, none of these are new positions, correct?
Correct.
I think just the nurse is different, so that's
Yes.
not
Yep.
the same.
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendations as presented. This is Kara.
All right, thank you, Cara. I think I might have asked this before. Rick, what does student council advisor do again?
So that's Amanda Williams. She's the advisor for our student council group that we have at Middletown Springs. It's a stipend position.
Okay.
Okay, so she's got two. All right. Okay. All right, I see that. I see what else. Answer my own question, sorry.
All right, I think, okay. I do remember asking this before. All right. Amanda?
Can we just discuss why Middletown only has a part-time counselor and not a full-time counselor?
And I do believe this was discussed, and we budgeted only for a 0.5 counselor.
I guess I misunderstood that. I thought that was only for the remaining of this year at Wells. I didn't realize.
Well, I do believe. Well, I think it's going to be. You're talking about the Wells Village counselor or the Middletown Springs counselor? I'm sorry, Amanda.
Middletown Springs, it looks like next year they only have a part-time counselor, and I know in Wells we had discussed that difference, and so that was a different issue. Now we have full-time, but I would like to see full-time in Middletown if we can push that one off. I'm not sure why it's only half-time.
Rick, I'll let
If I remember the conversation during budget discussions, I think it was based off a need. And I think the interventionist was a greater need than a full-time counselor, correct?
So I would love a full-time counselor, but looking at the needs, since we're the only school in the district that doesn't have an interventionist, we don't have any extra support. So to get an extra half-time teacher to help with our combined grades and do some interventionist work, that really rises at the top at this time. And once again, thinking about budget and trying to limit budget increases. It's one of those choices you have to make.
Any other questions? All right. All those in favor of approving the contract recommendations, say aye.
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 Any noes? Motion carries. Amanda?
Is it too late for us to look at increasing that part-time position after so we've just approved the part-time position, but is it too late at this point for us to look at even making it a 3/4 position? I just feel like there's a need for that, and it's unfortunate that position has been cut because of budgets, which I understand, but I would like to look at that if we can.
I don't know if it was cut.
So we've been a halftime. We actually for a couple of years. If at some point, at this point, I've had to advertise for a halftime for almost a month and a half. I've only had one candidate and a candidate that's not qualified. So if I was going to do anything, it would be to try to find the money to increase that interventionist to a full-time position, because I mean, I'm not nervous, but I'm a little concerned at this point that I've had no qualified candidates for a half-time position. So, but I think that's a further discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. We have 3 resignations. Unfortunately. So we'd be looking for a motion to accept the resignations.
Eric, do you want to announce the resignations?
Yes, we have Elizabeth Colte, Wells Village Principal, Erica Lerner, resigning from her position 6:30. It was on a year of leave of absence. And then Jason Grote, Wells Village teacher, effective the end of the school year. Which in that's the teacher. That's the okay.
Yes, correct.
I will reluctantly move that we accept the resignations.
All right. Thank you, George. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any noes? Abstentions? All right, motion carries.
I might have missed this, Eric. You just kind of commented, is that the teacher? Are we looking to fill Jason's position? Or are we looking at another combined class?
So
Yes.
the position posted is for a 4-5 class for next year. So it'll be to fill an existing classroom teacher position.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, and I did want to say to in regards to Mr. Grote's 21 years at Wells Village School, I think that should be noted, and yeah, he'll. Okay. We are moving on to non-union, non-admin rate list. Trying to find it here. There it is. Okay. Is this for just for approval, or is this for rate increase consideration, Chris?
I believe it's for approval, Eric.
Okay. And I know I've said this before too, but with the treasurer position, I mean, it's a like an elected position, like with the clerk and the board members. But we see it every year. I don't know if do we need to approve that stipend every year? Did we lose Chris?
I think we did. There he is. Whoop.
My guess is he's researching it.
Oh no, he's on the phone. Okay.
I apologize. I thought I had a little more time. No, the rates for the non-union are the rates to be approved. Yes. So these
Okay.
are okay. I just want to double check. So then, I'm sorry, your question about the treasurer was, is that something that needs to be approved on each year?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, that's a year-to-year position, I do believe.
well, it's an elected position.
Yep. So, but that's the salary that goes with that position. So,
Okay. Yeah, and it's, I just compare that to like board members stipend as well. So that I'm just curious. It doesn't matter to me either way. I think I just wanted to clarify if it even needs to be on this every year. Okay. So we'll also need a motion to approve the support staff.
Could I ask the question, when did we get a facilities director?
Last year.
Last year. Okay. Why?
Because the schools, the amount of work that needs to be done in schools is. I'll let Rick answer that, I guess.
So, I mean, I think that's a valid question to ask, but basically, I've been facilities directors for the last 9 years, and it's tough to be a principal and be a facilities director, and both schools are old schools, and it takes time and management, and it's at a point that I guess it's hard to be both a principal and a building director. So that is
okay.
May I also say that we were looking to start a preventative maintenance program, and we needed someone with expertise to kind of run that for us, as well as supervise the other custodians.
Okay. Curiosity, what are the qualifications that he has for that? Is there any, I'm just interested. I did not realize that one was ever hired for that, because that was a big issue when I was on the board.
So, I mean, like Rick said, the amount of work and time that principals were dealing with the facilities issues was basically just pulling their time away from administrative duties. And I'm not going to go into the qualifications of Scott. We did have a hiring committee involved in that, and the board did approve it. But I will say that the facilities committee, Scott is part of the facilities committee, and I'll say just by what's been done at the schools over this last year is huge. And he's able to move between the schools, and so it's I felt that it's definitely something that both schools are benefiting from. So
Okay, thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve the non-union rates as presented.
thank you, Cara. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 That motion is carried unanimous. All right. Annual retreat. Last month, we decided to postpone this discussion and sit down and figure out a time to have an annual retreat. And I believe the sooner the better, but really going to come down to schedules, I guess. Thoughts from the board? Amanda?
I agree. The sooner the better. During the week, I can do anything after 6 o'clock, And if we have to do a weekend, I would prefer a Saturday. It's my only.
My thought is, what is the retreat? We didn't have these back in my day. What are you guys talking about?
Okay, so it's where the board meets basically once a year and to talk about board work. It's essentially a meeting that really doesn't involve like regular board business. And last year we had an annual retreat where we sat down and we had a facilitator and we focused on looking at goals, coming up with goals, and something that the board can work to. And I thought it was pretty successful, and I can also share all that information with you as well. But I believe this year, I think it's just more about implementing those goals and working on a timeline. So,
Okay.
all right. Matt?
Yeah, I'll just say that weekday afternoons are better for me. Weekday evenings, I should say.
And I can make most anything work as long as I have like at least a week's notice.
Okay. Well, how about, I guess, right now I'm thinking what month? I think that would be a good place to start.
Was last year's delayed because of CHIPS stuff? Because normally they happen in the spring, right?
Usually we do it in the summer. That's what we've done the last two times. And I think that's why a lot of times it was pushed out to the summer. Just probably because of scheduling issues would be my thought. We could do that again this year. I'm not opposed to it. And I'm looking at July and August. But
The beginning of the July is best for me. I have a lot of stuff scheduled towards the end of the month, but I'm pretty open the first 2 weeks.
okay. All right. How do people feel month-wise between July and August?
This is George. I could do the week of the 11th in July or after.
Okay, that's a good place to start.
So Eric, if you want me there, it would have to be after the 13th of July. I'm gone from the end of June to the 13th.
Okay. Well, of course, we've always included the
Of
principal.
course, yes. But just to let you know that I'm heading to Montana. So
Okay.
I could do the July 14th. Just throw out a date.
Okay.
That would work for me. Rick, is that too soon after your return? Like, would you still be dealing with jet lag 24 hours after your return?
I'll make it work. No, it'll be fine. So, but thank you for asking. So, appreciate it.
Okay, potentially July 14th. I think, and I think as a generally that week works, but I think okay, Thursday. Chris, does that work for you? And
I have another retreat till 3:30, so I'm available after that on that date.
another retreat.
Would it be better to do it Friday the 15th for everyone?
I actually can't do it that day, but I could do the following week.
So, Eric, I can make the 14th work, so I can work around that. So,
Okay.
but I think it would just be depending on what time it would be at. So,
After 3:30 is fine with me because I'm usually at work until 5. So the earlier it is, the harder I would have getting out of work.
Meredith?
Is this going to be facilitated or are we on our own?
Good question, Meredith.
Well, that's part of this discussion too, because we've already had 2 facilitated board work shops, and at this point, we do have the goals and kind of a start to the work plan. Honestly, I think at this point it's just a matter of the board coming together and just talking out the work that's already been done. I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to a facilitator, but like I said, that's a whole nother conversation. And of course, it's going to cost. What are your thoughts, Meredith, on the date and time? And
I'm fine with the time, the date and time. I just you want to make the best use of our time, whether it's with the facilitator or with a well thought out agenda that will move it along so we can be productive. That's all. Which I know you'll do, and then I want Kara to do it too. So she's a very skilled facilitator.
I did that once, like 6 years ago.
I was there.
The fact that you still remember it.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at 6 years ago. I'm just not so good at yesterday.
Yep, of course. No, that sounds completely reasonable. And yeah, I don't know how I don't know if Kara would do it. I don't know how it would work out.
I mean, if you're happy with it being done internally, I'm happy to facilitate if that would facilitate the process.
Well, I think if we can pin down a date and time. We'll myself and Chris, we can work out the like the rest of like as far as this planning and the facilitation part, because I agree, right now, just kind of the way I see it, just kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. We're just talking about it, setting this retreat up. What we're actually going to do and discuss is not even there yet. So, but all right. All right. So we have, I guess, we'll say a tentative date, July 14th, after 3:30. So I think that's all right. Any other discussion on this? And Sue, is that something that works for you as well? We haven't heard from you on this.
I don't have an issue with anything other than as long as it wasn't going to be in the first week of July, that was fine.
Okay, yeah, we got July 14th. All right, and if anything changes, anybody let me know. So, all right. So if there's no other discussion on that, we'll move on to new business. Teacher appreciation. Yeah, that time of year. So the last couple of years, we've always done something for teacher appreciation. One concern I have is, well, before I say that, what is the board's thoughts on teacher appreciation again this year?
They should be appreciated. Yes. This is a very challenging year. I might have missed. Has there been a budget for this? Like, is it like a food celebration, or like here's something to put on your desk celebration? Like, what have you done in the past?
In the past, well, we had last year. We actually had Clarence had suggested a few of us get together and come up with something. But that's what I was going to say earlier in regards to money. This year, money might be a factor. I would definitely advocate to set a certain amount aside for this. And I know where we can get that too. So it wouldn't be from like any budgeted money. Rick?
I just want to say I think we've got some really nice gifts over the last few years with Clarence's help. We've got some nice tote bags. We got a nice pen set. We got a embossed coffee mug. So the board has tried to recognize the contribution of our staff. So it might be worth to have a small committee to get together and decide something.
Amanda?
My only thought would be if we go with a committee that we decide some sort of guidance before we do that. I know last year it was kind of hard not really knowing what we were working from and kind of hoping the rest of the board would agree. So if we do a committee, I would just say anything that somebody doesn't want or a dollar limit that they want to set, we do that before we decide, just so it's not confusing like in the past.
Totally agree.
Can we take a look at what was spent last year to give us a ballpark to aim for?
Can I just intervene for a second? Do you guys do it as both schools together, or does each school do their own?
Both schools together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because we never did that at all. And what we did was quite elaborate for Wells, excuse me, as part of the PTO as well. When I was there, we did a 7-day or 5-day celebration, and the PTO, as far as that's concerned, as well as individual parents and stuff, when we got together, we did something every day for that whole entire week. And it was as simple as making sure each teacher had a big apple sitting on their desk when they showed up, or I personally did a couple days where we made them a dessert day or a meal for the day where they didn't have to bring their meal in or anything like that. They ate a home cooked meal, and we did a morning breakfast for them one day. So they had something every day for the entire week, and that's what the PTO, when I was on it, we did a big part of that. So I'm not sure what you guys look at for spending money on this and stuff like that, but usually that was done with the PTO. I don't know. I have not been a part of it for a while, so I don't know what you guys think about and what you do for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure if what the PTO has. I think they've done breakfast.
Would this be in addition to anything that the PTO or Friends for Education or building administrators
Yes,
do?
this is just from the board,
Mhm.
as opposed to being a PTO or a Friends for Education event.
Okay, so it would be, like I said, I'm numerous groups getting together and doing something special every day, or just one thing one day of the week or whatever.
Yeah, we've just just done something as far as like a gift, just to acknowledge the teachers and staff. It's not just specifically the teachers.
Okay.
So, and we've, like I said, we've just been doing this for a couple of years now.
Is Elizabeth still on?
Yes, Sue, I'm here. So I can speak
yeah.
specifically to Wells. Mackenzie and I have been talking about that. And since I've been there, it's been the same as you had mentioned. People kind of take a day. I usually take a day. PTO does a day. But this specifically, when the board makes this decision, then Rick and I go around and pass out these gifts from the board to the staff.
Okay. I see. We didn't do that back then, but okay.
You're welcome to call and chat with Mackenzie too. If you have ideas that I haven't been a part of for the last few years, that'd be great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have an idea of how many staff people there are total? Just because I don't want to throw out a number if it would seriously underserve the number of staff.
I have 30, 35. But that's shared staff included though, since we share so many.
So I'm thinking 18, 20, kind of a rough.
I think we usually buy for 50. I feel
Yeah.
like that's the number we've been buying for.
Yep. I think last year. Well, and my thought this year is, the last couple of years, we kind of went because of with the amount of work and with COVID, we kind of went above. We kind of went. I think we kind of went. I wouldn't say. I just above. What would be. But I still think it was a good gesture. And I don't necessarily know. What would be a good place to start this year. But or even, and that's why I brought it up, because I'd like to, well, first of all, hear if, I guess by, consensus, if the board wants to continue doing this year as well.
Yeah, we should do this.
Amanda?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Yes, I think we should do this, but I don't think we need to spend the same amount that we have in the last couple of years. I think we could do a smaller gift this year, but definitely still a gift.
Okay.
I'm for this, but what was the amount that you spent last year?
I'd have to go back and look, but I think it was it ended up costing more than what I had planned it. When I had laid it all out online, it ended up being more, but I think it was close to like 800 or something like that. So, but there was no set amount. And I think my thought that's like way more than I would have anticipated. But at the time, I don't think money was as much of an issue as it is now. Amanda?
I was just wondering, I know it's always been important for us to personalize, and a way to save cost this year. I don't know if any board members have crickets. That's a big thing right now. I do have access to one that could be used. I'm not sure what the cost of the material for that would be, but that might be a more cost efficient way for us to offer personalization on a lower cost gift.
All right. So who would want to be part of I guess like an ad hoc committee to work on this? Is my next question.
I can help again if needed. And Carl wants to help. I see it in her smile.
Yeah, I can help, but I mean, like, would a suggestion of a $500 budget be okay? That's roughly $10 per person, like, or do we hold off? I don't know.
I think establishing a set amount would be good, for sure.
I can actually go back and check because I actually put it on my credit card and got reimbursed. So I have the amount from the last couple of years. So I can find out how much we spent.
Yeah, I saw the warrant.
Well, I'd like to go on that committee as well. And if Rick, you could share that with us, Amanda and Kara and myself, that will give us a good target to shoot for.
Yeah.
All right. So I think a couple things. So I guess I'll make a motion to commit this, or refer this for a committee. With the purpose of establishing something for Teacher Appreciation Day. And I think the important thing is that whatever you guys come up with, you can act on and have done before the first week in May. And also set a specific amount of money now for this. So I would.
In recognition of inflation, would $750 as the max budget? I'm rethinking my $500 price point.
My initial thought was like no more than 3, but I might be conservative. But there's another component to this, and that is the board has money for an SU stipend for board members to attend the SU meeting. And actually, Amanda and I were talking about this too. This was established years ago when we were traveling for SU meetings in West Rutland. But now that we're in this hybrid format, the conversation is does the board need to continue, paying board members to attend SU meetings, and they can just do it virtually? So, and I'll say, to me, it just seems, and this is just my opinion. Now, it's kind of a waste of money because it's $100. It's $300 per meeting that can be split up between each board member that attends. So, and so if you think about it, if we were to authorize the use of those funds, which I kind of wish I had asked Lewis about this earlier, before this meeting, what's left Maybe we can look it up. But anyway, that's where I'm getting at on paying for this. So it's not necessarily coming out of budget. It's basically coming out of what would be board member stipend. So thoughts? Amanda?
Go ahead, George. You can go first.
Oh, thank you, Amanda. I'm just going to say that it has been a rough couple of years, and to kind of take a step back from doing a nice thing for our teachers who have really been on the front line might be a little short-sighted this year. As far as the budget goes, what's out there to offer them has only gone up in price, like a lot of things, if you can get it. So I'm not opposed to cutting in under $800, but I think $300 is really going to be unrealistic.
Okay.
So maybe, as Kara said, like around $7 should be our proposed budget.
Okay. Well, I would be okay with that if that money is available in through for this board member stipend for the SU. So if that money is there, I don't know how much is there. That's why I was saying, I wish I'd asked Lewis ahead of time.
Aren't we looking at a $32,000 surplus?
Yeah.
So Meredith, are you proposing a $32,000 budget on that one?
Yeah, sure.
Well, my thought behind it though too is that
I think, Kara, Amanda, we need some business meetings, some dinner meetings. Just kidding. Sorry.
My thought behind that was, I would like to know what you haven't said anything as far as using the SU stipend, Meredith. Again, that was kind of established, as like a hardship from traveling to these GRCSU meetings that would go on for, and they were always in the same place, so there was always a certain amount of traveling. But
And if we get back to traveling to them, they're going to be even further. They're not going to be in West Rutland anymore.
Yeah.
Where are they going to have them?
Central office.
And that's Rutland?
Yep.
I'm there anyways.
Yeah. I don't know. I think hybrid's here to stay, honestly.
That'd be ridiculous.
All right. Well. All right.
I wouldn't be opposed to decreasing the $300. Honestly, I'm not sure I've received anything. I actually have to check with Lewis on that. But I wouldn't be opposed to splitting like 100 or 150 between three of us instead of 300, and then that way everyone feels like they're still getting something in case we do have to travel again, and it's still their time. But I don't think each person needs $100 to attend a meeting.
Yeah. Well, that's a different conversation that we can have later too. I think at this point, let's just figure out an amount, and we have 3 volunteers that can work through those details. Rick?
So just to follow up, I actually went and checked my emails. So we spent approximately $650 to $730 each of the last 2 years.
Okay.
For some nice recognition gifts. So.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you. I thought we were over that. Perfect.
Yeah, me too.
So my suggestion would be 700, but leave it up to the board.
Okay. Thoughts? Amount?
I would make a motion to say we don't exceed 700, and that doesn't mean we have to spend 700, but it gives us the option. If costs have gone up, we have something to work with. But if it costs us 5, then that's great.
Okay, well, I'll just add that in to my motion for the committee to set that amount. Is anyone opposed to 700?
No.
No.
Okay. All right, so we'll set the amount for that. And all right. Any other questions regarding this or concerns? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thanks everyone. Policies. There's just a few policies in here. Hopefully everyone took the time to read them. So we have the 10. Like 13 second read policies. A lot of these policies are, some of them are kind of defined by statute. Some of them are model policies for the second reads. Any questions for these second read policies at all?
I have a question for Meredith.
Does it relate to the policies?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Meredith, when we did the policies way back when, are they still doing the same policies, or are we doing them over again?
They are updating them, and it's really a question for Eric because he is on the policy committee. But when
Okay.
we did them, that wasn't.
Are these the same
Was
ones?
that-
Are they still doing the same pile, or are they just restarting the pile over again?
I think because this is post-merger.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So some of them.
These
Okay.
have to be aligned with the other schools in our supervisory union.
Okay. I was just going to say, God, it's just going to take a long time, isn't it?
I love the word you use, pile. I mean,
There was a pile. We did when we did this. We did the same thing, but it was like, oh my God. So yeah, I was just wondering if they were still doing the same pile and just restarting it, or what. Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah, it's been a process, but you know, they every 3 to 5 years is the recommended time to review policy. We started reviewing these policies. You know, some of them really outdated, some of them, you know. So anyway,
I'm sorry, I worked on those policies. I'm not outdated.
well, I mean outdated as far as like, you know, statutes changed and you know, things change. So, but yeah, we're about halfway through, and then also, we still have a lot of policies that we're looking to develop, like new policies from scratch. And I think that's where a lot of the real work is. But all right, so is there a motion to adopt these second read policies?
I'll make that motion.
All right. And I'll just read through them really quick. The ones that are listed second read. We have D8, Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act compliance. D9, Family Medical Leave. E3, Tobacco Prohibition. E5, Travel Reimbursement. G7, Educational Support System. G8, Grade Advancement. F14, Participation of Home Study Students. E4, Electronic Communication Use and Retention. E1, Safety of School Facilities. D2, Professional Development. C3 school visits by board members, special education. That one doesn't have a code yet. H2 community use of school facilities, and that is it. The rest are first reads. Any questions or suggested changes for first reads at all? That would go back to policy committee.
Not at the moment, but I didn't finish reading that either.
Okay. So Sue, the way our policy committee works within the GRCSU is the process is, I'll try and go through this as quick as I possibly can, is the policy committee will review the policies. Then the next month, all those policies that the committee has reviewed and referred to the member district boards will go out the following month for first reads. All right. So it's like a 3-month process. So if any board sends something back for a suggestion of change, then it would go back to policy committee that following month. If nothing is recommended, then the third month they would be up for a second read. So because we've got 4 districts, the process is kind of elaborate, but we have to do this to make sure that there's time for people to weigh in on it. And my point is if you see anything that you would like to have addressed, go ahead and email me. And there's still time for it to go back to committee. So, right.
When does the policy committee meet?
It's going to meet the end of this month.
Okay, then I'm not sure if there's anything that I will get it back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, and it's a good possibility that it could end up on the policy committee's agenda the following month. I'd have to look at it.
Eric, that date is April 26th.
Thank you. All right. So we have an executive session, but let's go ahead and do you have a separate link for that?
No, I can send one out right now if you want, or we could just stay on this. Might be easier for Sue just to stay on this one.
Yeah, I think we'll do that. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and future meeting dates and agenda. The next meeting is May 4th. And so at our reorganization meeting, we talked about doing hybrid and meeting in person again. And I think in May, we should start that one. I believe, Sue, I don't know if you want to talk about, I guess, the hardship of technology, however you want to put it.
Well, I don't really look at it as hardship. I just look at it the fact that I live out in the boondocks in Wells, and we have no service, and I do not use access to a laptop anymore since my kids are out of the house, and I don't have all that technology anymore because I just don't have the ability to have it anyways. So it's kind of a pain in the butt.
Okay.
And I kind of feel that if you're doing this for the kids, it shouldn't matter. You show up for your kids, you show up for all kids.
Yeah, and another thing too, that I should mention is another reason why we're also meeting virtually too is that the governor has signed a law stating that we don't need a physical location for our public meeting. So that's another reason why we've been meeting virtually. But I believe when we talked about it last month, a lot of people were in favor of doing the hybrid as well. So people have the option to either attend or virtually. Does anyone oppose to setting an in-person location for the month of May?
Which school would we be at? Where in the rotation are we?
Middletown Springs.
So we would still be hybrid.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, if there's no opposition to that, we can set that May 4th at Middletown Springs.
And that would be for the facilities meeting also, correct?
Yeah.
Hybrid.
Did we set?
I have that on my calendar. I know I've been working with Scott on some of the tasks we had talked about.
Yeah, I believe our facilities was in May, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah, we can do. Thanks so much for the reminder, George. We can do the facilities remote too.
Well, it can be hybrid also, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. If there's no other business, we will move into executive session for the discussion of contracts, and that I'll move that we move into executive session for contracts. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we are out of executive session at 8:17 by consensus, and as there's no other further business,
Are we supposed to make a motion or report out about decisions made in executive session?
no, not
Okay.
about that.
Not about that.
Nope. A motion would be in order to adjourn. Sue, would you care to make that motion?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.